time for petitions is now over. Orders of the day.
Ballot item number 67, Order M97, second reading of Bill 97, an act to proclaim Genocide Awareness, Commemoration, Prevention and Education Month. Mr. Babikian.
I recognize the member for Scarborough Agincourt.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move the second reading of Bill 97, an act to proclaim Genocide Awareness, Commemoration, Prevention and Education Month.
Mr. Babikian has moved second reading of Bill 97, an act to proclaim Genocide Awareness, Commemoration, Prevention and Education Month. Pursuant to Standing Order 98, the member has 12 minutes for his presentation.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I am humbled to stand in this august chamber this afternoon as a descendant of an Armenian genocide survivor to lead the debate on Bill 97. Before I do that, I would like to welcome delegates from 40 civil society organizations representing 11 different ethnic and religious communities in Ontario, and I will read, they are all in the gallery here, and I'm going to mention their names a little bit later in the debate. Madam Speaker, genocide is a deliberate act to eradicate a group with a common religious, ethnic, or national origin. It is a crime against humanity which possesses a threat to mankind. Dehumanization of the victims precedes, accompanies, and follows such crimes. According to Helen Fine, a prominent Holocaust and genocide scholar, it is estimated that 38.6 million people were killed in the 20th century, the result of genocide. Additionally, 130 million people have been killed as a result of politicized mass killings, starvation, forced labor, and concentration camps. Denial of these crimes further injures and traumatizes the survivors and their descendants. Ontario and Canada are recognized as world-leading champions of human rights. Genocide has touched the lives of many communities and families in our province. Furthermore, a large number of survivors and descendants call this great province home. I believe that Bill 97 will help ease these families and communities to overcome the trauma they have suffered as a result of genocide, in addition to providing a way to find healing and closure to the victims and their descendants. This bill will also be an important tool for future generations to learn from the mistakes of the past so that we can prevent such crimes from happening ever again. Madam Speaker, I cannot stand in this chamber and speak about this bill without recalling the horrors and the atrocities committed by the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria during the summer of 2014. At the time, the world watched helplessly as Yazidi women and children were taken hostage and were sold in slave markets. Nadia Murad, the 2018 Nobel Peace Prize laureate and survivor of that genocide, said, and I quote, "By acknowledging and remembering past and ongoing genocide, we hope to make never again a reality," end of quote. Ms. Murad's sentiments truly reflect the intention of this bill. Never again is the message I want to bring across to the people of Ontario and Canada. Other communities and populations of Iraq, Syria, and Egypt were also victims of genocide and crimes against humanity by ISIS in 2014 until their defeat. I recall people from affected communities speaking to me about forcible removal from their homes, the destruction of places of worship, and worst of all, the annihilation of historic communities. The loss of material culture of ancient people and endangerment of historical monuments reminds us that genocide does not only affect the victims, but rather humanity as a collective. I hope that this bill will help the victims find healing and closure as the gaping wounds left behind continues to haunt survivors, and many of them call Ontario home. Madam Speaker, I also recall the victims of genocide of 1915, Armenians, Greek, Syriacs, Assyrians, and Chaldeans were all affected. Innocent men, women, and children were massacred. Homes, villages, and cities were destroyed. And worst of all, the crimes has continued to be denied. Victims and their descendants have lived with the trauma for more than 100 years. I hope this bill will ensure that these communities can now find comfort in the collective solidarity with the victims of other genocides and crimes against humanity who call Ontario home. During the Second World War, the Jewish people of Europe and the Chinese population of Nanjing were target of a genocide. Rwandans are another group of victims that have made Ontario home. Tutsis, as victims, continue to live with trauma they experienced in 1994. Over 1 million lives were lost in the span of 100 short days. I know from my friends in the Rwandan community that survivors have had to deal with the horrific and the gruesome nature of the crimes they witnessed. I believe that we in Ontario can provide the victims who call this province home a place where they can heal and bring new life. In more recent times, the Tamil, Rohingya, and Sikh communities also experience such criminal acts. Some have asked why you are trying to demonize perpetrator state members that call Ontario home. This bill does not do such a thing. On the contrary, by acknowledging these crimes, we pay tribute and honor all the virtuous individuals who risked their lives to save victims of genocide. We also pay tribute to those who openly commemorate, write, discuss, and atone for the mistakes of their predecessors. To honor the sacrifices of these righteous people, some of them live in Ontario and across Canada, it is our moral duty to stand up and support them in this Legislative Assembly. Madam Speaker, the passing of Bill 97 will be a landmark acknowledgement of an important chapter in our history, and as such pay tribute to thousands of Canadians whose generosity and participation in Canada's noble experiment have saved thousands from annihilation during the genocide of the 20th century. Sarah Corning, a Nova Scotia nurse who was in the Ottoman Empire at the time of genocide, helped save 5,000 Armenian and Greek children from certain death. In fact, Canada was one of the leading countries to launch a relief effort to help the refugees and the orphans. Under the patronage of the Governor General of the time and Archbishop Neil MacNeil, Canada played an active role in helping raise $300,000 to help the victims and the survivors of the genocides. Furthermore, 109 orphan boys, later known as the Georgetown Boys, were brought to Canada and resettled on a farm near Georgetown in southern central Ontario, hence giving them a new lease on life. Toronto's The Globe newspaper spearheaded the campaign to raise funds to the starving Armenians. It is this type of compassionate and humanitarian vision that helped establish Canada's reputation as caring, welcoming, tolerant, and enlightened country. Likewise, Bill 97 will honor the contribution of our ancestors. Furthermore, it is also possible to teach and commemorate genocide without disliking the perpetrators. This is being done successfully in our educational system, where Holocaust, Armenian, and Rwandan genocide are taught without blaming contemporary Germans, Turks, and Hutus. The intent of Bill 97 is to preserve the memory of historical events, but also because the truth is a way of paying our respect to the victims. Moreover, if genocide can be perpetrated and successfully denied Tyrants will draw their own conclusion, as the notorious statement by Adolf Hitler in 1939 testifies. Trying to justify his plans to invade Poland and annihilate the Jewish people there, the Nazi dictator said, I quote, "Who today remembers the annihilation of the Armenians?" End of quote. Finally, genocides that are denied tend to be forgotten, thus cutting us from the knowledge that might help prevent future atrocities. For this reason, denial of genocide is not just an issue for Armenians, Jews, Ukrainians, Tutsis, Sikhs, Tamil, Chinese, Greek, Syrian, Chaldean, Assyrian, Cambodian, Yazidis, or Rohingyas. It is an issue for all humanity. Ignoring or denying genocide is an attack on history and the way we transmit the past to the future. Regrettably, my bill lists genocides that have not been recognized in Ontario. The text of the bill states, in addition to the genocide that either the Legislative Assembly of Ontario or the Parliament of Canada or both have recognized, Ontario recognized the genocides committed against a number of communities. This was done in order to allow educators and schools to include these horrific crimes in teaching materials to help educate future generations, in addition to the Holocaust, Armenian, Rwandan, Ukrainian, Cambodian, and Sikh genocides. Finally, I am convinced that once Bill 97 is passed, it will provide an opportunity to start the reconciliation process between affected groups. It is time for us to help end the trauma of the victims and send a message that we stand in solidarity with the victims. Thank you.